Hi, and welcome back to On Track Tips. My name is Jason Weiser, and you're listening to Get on Track, Stay on Track. And we're helping your small business one expert at a time. And today, our expert is James Wedmore. That's right, James Wedmore is right here at On Track Tips taking our questions today about YouTube and product launch. The title of today's event is How to Launch Your First Product Using YouTube. And for those of you that don't know James Wedmore, I'm telling you what, he's a rock star. He's a superstar. He's a guru. He's a genius. He's an expert extraordinaire. He is the best of the best, and I'm honored to have him right here at On Track Tips. Now, that's my version of his bio. His version's considerably more humble. Here's how his official bio reads. He says that he's armed with a degree from one of the top 10 film schools in the country. James set out to utilize the power of video and visual storytelling to revolutionize how we interact on the internet, and he's done that. And after several successful ventures, including an online bartending school, James founded Video Traffic Academy, an online YouTube marketing training program that has enrolled over 10,000 small business owners and entrepreneurs all over the country. He's been featured on numerous sites such as entrepreneur.com, Rise to the Top, Mixergy, and many more. He's been the guest instructor on 3 Creative Live workshops, and today he's hosting James Wedmore TV. I mean, talk about production. This guy bangs it out of the park with his production on his YouTube channel, which has been viewed over 1 million times. His mission is simple: show business owners how to create and execute effective video marketing campaigns without spending a lot of time or money. James Wedmore, welcome to On Track Tips.
And that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next time.
Oh, but that's not even all the housekeeping. You know what? I've got a little more. It's like Guy Kawasaki. I got through my housekeeping. He was like, man, I'm exhausted already. But
yeah.
Hey, we got to pay the bills, so here we go.
Well, thank you. I'm honored and flattered. I appreciate it, Jason.
Man, I'm going to get to why I'm just so glad to have you on the show. We're going to get to that in just a minute here. But for those of you that are watching, you know that here at On Track Tips, we love Twitter. And right now we've got a tweet chat happening over on Twitter using the hashtag OnTrackTips. Today's Twitter question: do you have a YouTube channel? If you do, tell us the link. Share it with us over there on Twitter using the hashtag OnTrackTips. Also start asking James questions over there, and we'll be glad to get to those. And I want to make sure to thank today's sponsor, Repurpose.pro. Asking the question, do you struggle with creating enough content for your small business? Do you find there's not enough time to spend blogging and posting? Have you considered creating one piece of content, repurposing it over and over for maximum reach and less work? Repurpose.pro. It's a step-by-step process that'll help you and your team take one piece of content, like this interview, for example, and easily turn it into a blog post, a podcast, a video, a slideshare, and so much more. Repurpose.pro, your solution for content creation. And lastly, head on over to ontracktips.com. That's my website. And over there, you're going to find the big red button. Push it. Get in contact with me, and I'm going to go find you another expert to help you in your small business. Experts like James Wedmore, Chris Brogan, Guy Kawasaki, Andrea Val, and so many more. Now, that's the end of the housekeeping. I bet you guys want to hear from James Wedmore, so let's get started. All right. James, you have created so many products. I mean, your products are top-notch, hyper-polished. I love it. You're a real inspiration to me. I'm getting ready to launch a product myself. So I want you to take us back to that early day. What was it like when you first launched or first of all, what was your first product? And tell us just a little story, a fun story about launching your first product.
Well, if we go all the way back, Jason, we're going to have to go back to my bartending product, which was the first product I made. This was like every entrepreneur has that moment in their life where they like literally do the math and think like this is how they're going to make their millions. You know, like if I could just create this one product, sell it for $100, and then sell it to 1 million people, like I'm going to be a gajillionaire. And so it was the end of 2007. I was working as a bartender and a bartender at like private parties and events and stuff. And I don't know how I came up with the idea, but I made a bet with my dad. I said, I bet I can make more money selling a product that teaches people how to bartend than actually being a bartender. And that was the start. That was November of 2007. That started that like, oh, I need a website, and oh, I need to learn how to do every single thing under the sun. 6 months later, we made our first sale. Like sacrificed everything. Yeah, I had to move back home with my parents. I'm like, this is gonna work. I'm gonna do this. And But yeah, eventually, April 18, 2008, I made my first sale, and that got me hooked. Then it was like, what was working with that? Other people wanted to know, and so I was like, well, YouTube is working. I've used YouTube to get my customers, and then in 2011, I created a course called Video Traffic Academy, which we launched in August, September of 2011, and it generated $400,000 in sales, and the product was $100. So it was super exciting, and that product still sells to this day. And I've, yes, as you've said, gone on to create several more, which you say are awesome. I think they all suck. Like, I'm so hard on myself, and like it's never good enough. And but you at one point you gotta get over your perfectionism.
Well, you've raised the bar on products, and there's a lot of products that get launched out there. There's a lot of people doing the strategy that says, I'm going to sell it. I'll sell it first, and then I'll build it if enough people buy it. What do you think about that strategy?
I actually love that. I love it. It just, I like to put a little structure into that. So what we do all the time is we call it the boot camp model, and we will sell people into a live version of the course. However, a lot of things are already in place. I know what the product is. I know that there's an outline and a structure. So if I said tomorrow I want to create a course on, which I did, Facebook advertising, and I didn't want to sit down and create the course and spend months doing it, how I would do that is I would create an outline. And I'd say, okay, I want to teach it for 4 weeks. And week 1, I want to talk about this. Week 2, I want to talk about this. And we can go into the methodology behind why you would select what you select for each week, because I think that's really important. But I wouldn't create the content. I would just have an outline. And then you can write an outline. If I put a gun to your head and I said, make an outline for XYZ course, you could have that to me in 60 minutes or less. Not the course, just the outline. And then you sell it and say, hey, we're going to do this live together. And that's actually more valuable. Like, what's more valuable, going to a personal trainer or reading an ebook on how to lose weight? The personal trainer. So anytime people get the live interaction where the students help to create the course, it's going to be a better experience, and you can actually sell it for more. And you're creating it live. Then we record the training, and then we can set it as more of a passive autopilot income type product, yeah, if that makes sense.
No, it does. So when did you figure out that, okay, with your bartending school, you launched that out, you started making some sales, but when did you make that transition from the bartending to the YouTube in terms of the processes that you used? When you used your bartending school, you probably launched it a certain way, made a ton of mistakes, and then you redid it. Talk a little bit about that transition between the two products.
There's been a lot of transitions. I wish, a lot of people talk, their stories are so beautiful. They have this one little moment in their life and everything changed, and I feel like mine's been about a million of little moments. But it's like I'm so grateful for that time, and that's why I always bring up the bartending, because my girlfriend broke up with me, all my friends left me, I had to move back in with my parents, and I was living off of the $5 foot-long Subway sandwiches. $5, and you get a foot-long, you got 2 meals now. And so it was a dark time for me, but the only thing kept me going was this product. I bought a 950-page book this thick on Dreamweaver, which is a program you can use to build websites, because I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to own a website, I got to learn how to build them. And I did. I read it twice and learned how to build websites. And then, of course, 6 months later, I learned something called WordPress, and I basically slapped myself in the face. But the original process was 6 months, took everything. Like, I learned Photoshop so that I could create a digital product image, like the ebook cover. Like, it was ridiculous. And then I know, there was no overnight, which is what you're looking for, like switch. But one of the biggest things that made a huge difference for me was I attended a webinar about a gentleman who started talking about outsourcing. And so, I know the book, Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek could come out, but this was a different type of outsourcing. This was just get a virtual assistant in the Philippines for $2 an hour, which I was like, what? So I did that, and I found someone who I was paying at the time, I think $60 a week. And it was me and him in this basement room in my parents' house building my business. And the coolest thing is he's still with me today. he gets paid a lot more, and I employ his entire family, and we have a staff in America of 10 people. So it's just amazing that it started with that. But what that allowed me to do, and this is the most important part that I'm getting to, is remove myself from the conveyor belt, the process of the put the nut on the bolt and then become the CEO and the visionary. Because there's never, if you were to create a to-do list of everything you need to do to start a business, run the business, make it happen, it's an unlimited thing, and every single one of those items has a potential for problems. That's business. We just kind of face that fact that comes with the territory. Everything you do is going to have some sort of problem attached to it. Technology doesn't work, or something breaks, or whatever. And when you can remove yourself as much as you can, even at how much little money I was making, that was the biggest catapulting difference for me. And I even ended up creating a course on outsourcing only because I truly felt I didn't even want to do that, but I felt that that's what so many entrepreneurs, especially at a startup level, were experiencing. Not just not knowing what to do, they had no direction, but then they didn't have the time or the know-how to do all the things that everyone was telling them to do. And if you can kind of remove yourself and get a little workforce to help you, it just speeds it up so much.
Yeah, I had one of our most viewed shows was with Rebecca Rodice, and she was talking about how to expand your business beyond yourself, how to outsource, how to use VAs, because it's you have a lot of people telling us to do that, and I'm actually in that process right now, hiring a staff and going to go, but it's not as easy as just plug and play. Right? It's not just a matter of saying, okay, it's time to outsource and start passing off things. What's one thing that you would tell somebody that as you're entering into the outsourcing time, what can you outsource? What are some things that you
and it's funny because I actually do think it's really easy. A lot of people don't. They really don't. And I go in my head, I'm like, what am I doing that other people aren't? And I've always kind of been on this discovery path. So I think the biggest thing I've had in my favor is that when I described the bartending story, I did it all myself. HTML, Photoshop, copywriting, everything. I did it all myself. So we were able, and we use a fantastic resource that Michael Hyatt even recommends, and that's how I originally found it, was through his podcast, sweetprocess.com. And it allows you to make step-by-step process maps of everything. So when we do a lot of repetitive things like building out a membership site or integrating the membership site with our shopping cart, we have in a Lego, because I just saw that movie, Lego instruction manual that we can give to anybody. So we brought on a new virtual assistant recently. So that's the first step, is know the steps and document them as a process. And when you use Sweet Process, it doesn't matter who the virtual assistant is, because if they're gone, the next person can just go right into it. And we've seen that happen. It's so cool. It's they do it without missing a beat. And so that's the first step. But what we had happen is we hired on a person during a project, and this person was no good. And I could, I've been doing this for so long, I could see their problems immediately. But what I've done is I've actually removed myself so much that we have project managers who are managing the assistants in the Philippines now. So I just tell them what I want. They have to communicate it to the virtual assistant, and that person has to execute. Wasn't working. So I just brought on someone new and showed them the process maps, and literally we were able to hit our deadlines without skipping a beat because the process and the steps were in place. And so if you're willing to put those processes in, which takes time, it will save in the long run. It's are you trying to do the get rich quick 6 months business explosion, or is this a long haul thing you're doing? But the second step is a hiring process.
I'm going to cut you there because our time is going to be short, and I know that we could talk about outsourcing forever, but I got some people that are talking. All right, look, you went from you just said that everybody's looking for the fast track, and it takes a long time, right? But I'm looking at this, and you said in 2011 you launched your first product, and it's 2014. This is 3 years to go from launching. I mean, that to me seems like an amazingly fast amount of time to get the kind of success that you're seeing. So let's break this down for
Yeah.
for our viewers. All right, right now there's somebody on the call who is a small business and they want to take their business beyond themselves. They want to, enter into this. I like what Neil Schaefer says. Neil Schaefer says people don't scale. Right? And he says, if there was one thing I wish I had done in my business, he's a social media consultant, I wish I would have done product development. So there's a lot of people on the call asking about how do I do the product development. What would you tell them right now, starting out where they are, if you were to just give them real quick blocks, not every little piece of minutia, but get an outline, sell it, outsource? What are some other things that you want us to kind of think about?
Yeah, the first thing and the biggest thing is list building. If you don't have a solid strategy for list building, that's where you need to start, because you need to have people that you can sell the product to. You can't just put a banner ad on the image and say, here's my $200, $500 product, click here to buy it. Everything comes down to a sales funnel and a process or an experience that you have to take people through. And it starts with list building. And saying, okay, yeah, I have a list building strategy, I have a free report or a free video or a free guide or whatever, is not a list building strategy. A list building strategy includes a traffic source that goes over to some sort of squeeze page or landing page that collects the information from the visitor and then delivers whatever you've promised them. So it's bigger than just saying, yeah, no, I have list building done. I have a report on my blog. Well, how much traffic? Well, I don't get any traffic on my blog. So how's your list building doing?
Right.
So that's all when people ask me, like, how do I use YouTube, that's all I use YouTube for. Is at the end, if you go look on my 220 videos on there, at the end of every single video, we invite people to opt in or subscribe or take the next step with us. We use Facebook advertising. We do joint venture webinars and other things like that. But it all begins and ends with list building, because you can't sell a product to people that aren't on your list.
How many people were on your list in 2011? When you first launched?
Yeah,
into
zero. Pretty much zero.
Wow.
Yeah, we leveraged joint venture partners heavily.
Yeah. Okay.
Heavily. It was something that, like, we did totally backwards, and I've never done it really again. Where we just reached out to. I had a business partner. We reached out to every friend, and we pulled in every favor we could, and did promotions and whatnot. So my list was very small, maybe a couple thousand at the time. So, like, none of the sales came from my list. It was all from new people. But we didn't send people to, like, the emails. If I had you promote, it wasn't you sending an email to a sales page. They would send an email to either a opt-in page of ours, so we built our list, or to some sort of webinar, whether it was live or automated, so we were collecting the lead first, then putting them into some sort of sales funnel. And that's always the first step, whether it's with a JV or you're using social media.
What's the best social media platform that you use, of LinkedIn, YouTube, well, of course YouTube, but aside from YouTube, what do you like? Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+, Twitter?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say Facebook, but only because of Facebook advertising. So you can't really call advertising a social platform, but we're tapping into a social platform using advertising. I'm not really, like, I don't really use, I suck at social media. I use, YouTube, I do consider a social platform. A lot of people don't for some weird reason. Yeah. But Instagram would be the only other thing, but Instagram's more for, like, my friends. So we've given up on the whole Facebook fan page, like, really even trying to post anything. There's been, like, all these reports of Facebook saying, like, look, you got to pay to play. So we said, okay, cool, we'll pay, and it's literally paid off for us big time, because when you can see an ROI really quickly on your promotional efforts, you just keep spending money because it keeps making you more money. So we love Facebook advertising, definitely.
Yeah, you're definitely doing amazing on Facebook advertising this week as I've been researching and getting ready for the interview. You've been following me everywhere. everything I open up, there's James Wedmore staring at me. So
And
you're
I've been
doing it
surfing
right.
all week, so I haven't been doing a thing.
Yeah.
It's great.
Awesome. What about, we get a lot of people here, Google Plus, Hangouts on Air, YouTube. I mean, you're a YouTube genius. It would seem that you would be using Hangouts on Air more. Why don't you?
It's always that thought in the back of my head that I should be, and I think the only reason I don't is because where I've really gone in the past year has been to a creative and production quality style content, because that can be pretty much unrivaled by most people in our industry. Is if I have a video team and a writer and myself, we can create anything we want and use my crazy imagination to make things come to life, versus a Hangout, which is really just interviews. And I guess I've just been on the receiving end of so many that I just don't end up doing my own. But if I had the choice to say, James, get on for 30 minutes and do something live, or like sit down at a writer's desk and come up with anything you want and we're going to make it, I'm always going to choose that latter option, just because it's what I enjoy more. I have to have my creative outlet fueled with what I do, otherwise I go a little crazy, and that's really why I use YouTube.
You're such a perfectionist on YouTube. I love your outtakes at the end, but what that tells me is that you've really gone to great lengths to make sure that the 3-minute, 5-minute videos are perfect, and they really are. Does that play into why maybe there's too many things that can go wrong in an HOA? Is that why?
It's not that too many things can go wrong. I'm like all about things going wrong, because we do like other live stuff, like we'll use GoToWebinar and do like live presentations and stuff. It's more like I kind of want to preserve my YouTube channel with just that type of content. I have no other way of explaining. I mean, I might go on and do it, but I guess like well, if you go look at my recorded videos on YouTube, I don't really do too many just talking head videos, and that's really all you can do with a Hangout. Is just talk or have a conversation with someone, and then it ends up being like 30 minutes to an hour. And so for our YouTube videos, we really want them to be just like short, 3-minute punchy. Yeah, I am a perfectionist, but it's not necessarily perfectionism that keeps me. Maybe it is, and I'm just in denial. But but I like the short, punchy, like in your face, like content better. Even though, however, like it's totally proven that Google Hangouts, recorded Google Hangouts on air, are performing really well. They're ranking really well inside of YouTube. And YouTube and Google really want us to use them.
I was recently talking with Tia Kelly from Unbounce, and we were having a discussion about webinars versus Hangouts on Air and some of the pluses and minuses that kind of play into them. And maybe we could go into that discussion some other time. I wish we had time to go into it now, because I think it's a fascinating discussion. But it takes somebody like you or Sean or Lewis or one of you guys that understands the webinar side of it to be able to have that discussion. But I don't see hardly any of you guys over here on Hangouts on Air, so it's kind of difficult to get that balance. I'm going to start bringing up some questions from the audience.
Sure.
What about word of mouth marketing? Andy Lyons, a good friend of both of ours, is asking the question. What about word of mouth marketing, referral engine? How do you use that?
I don't know. I don't. It's one of those weird things where like a real, if something is really word of mouth, which is the most powerful form of marketing, it will transcend anything we're ever doing and ever will do. Real word of mouth marketing has no agenda behind it. So like, if I tell Jason that he's got to check out this new site, and he finds out that the only reason I'm telling him about that is because I get a free month for every friend I refer, and he knows that, he knows I have an agenda. So the only like real, like where I'm like, Jason, you got to see this guy's stuff. His YouTube channel, his blog is amazing, and there's nothing in it for me. Then the only way that really happened is by this person we're talking about is being extraordinary, and they're doing something extraordinary. And so that is the ultimate form of marketing, and so that's the ultimate strategy to get word of mouth is just to be extraordinary, and that's why I can be called a perfectionist, because I really do hope, like, I don't go for a viral strategy. I don't use, when I use YouTube, I don't go, oh, I hope this is the one that goes viral and makes my millions of views. But I do hope that people see it and be like, email a friend and say, you got to see this. And the only way I can control that is by the level of execution and experience that I provide and value I provide. I can't sit there and be like, and if you tell 5 of your friends, I'll make sure to mention you in my next video. Like, I'm never going to do that. It's just about the quality that you provide to your audience.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions here about outsourcing, and unfortunately we don't have time to get them all, but I will bring them up. Mia Voss is asking, outsourcing advice, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Wayne Nix comes right back and he says, I'm right there with you, Mia. I'd love to know more about how to effectively outsource. And of course, our good friend Tom Rolfson, he jumps in and says, what's the biggest red flag that you found when reviewing candidates to select for outsourcing?
Jason, let me give him the 30-second answer. Number one, as we said earlier, write down everything that you're doing, especially the stuff that you don't enjoy doing. Number two, there's a great website called onlinejobs.ph. It's not onlinejobs.com, it's onlinejobs.ph, is in the Philippines, and you can start finding Filipino virtual assistants, which I am such a huge fan of. They're amazing for relatively cheap there, and you just give them the step-by-step process. Just give them 5 hours of work a week to do. Now, the biggest red flag when I'm looking for people is if they say yes to every question that you have. So, like, can you do this? Can you do this? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem. You want people that are just, like, real and imperfect, because they're just trying to get the job, and they're going to say anything they can to get the job. So we put people on trial weeks. We give them a week of a couple assignments to do, and then we evaluate them based on that. And the number one thing I look for is just hard work and hitting deadlines. That's all that matters to me. If they don't have skills, I can teach them the skills. So, yeah, we could do a whole 2 hours. Oh, awesome. Paul Steinbrook said, I bought your 6-figure outsourcing product, and implementing these strategies made a huge impact on my business. That's amazing, Paul. Thank you. Yeah, I created that product right after Video Traffic Academy, because I'm like, all the stuff I got done, I couldn't have gotten done by myself. And I say that times 10 today. Like, that hasn't changed. It's only... I try and remove myself even more today, you know.
Do you have a list of all the products that you have out there? Or somewhere? Is there somewhere we can go and do some shopping, or what?
No, that's what I love the most about what I do, is I have friends from high school and college who are like, what? Are you making money? and like and even customers, or like potential customers, will send me a message and they're like, I'm really frustrated. I'm trying to buy one of your products and I can't find where is it? I just want to give you my money. I'm like, sorry. And a lot of that is intentional for different reasons. Number one, I don't want to just put buy now buttons all over my blog. That's the biggest reason. But number two, it's more important for me to build a relationship first. So when people opt into my list, we share with them other content and videos for subscribers only, and then we kind of discover what it is that they want to learn more about, and then we can make offers to them. Plus, a lot of the stuff I do is like live launches and stuff. But yeah, someone could find any one of my websites. Like videotrafficacademy.com is my YouTube course we've been talking about.
That's your flagship?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's easy to find. Just type in James Wedmore and you can find that one. I just like that little. There's a blooper for you. We'll stick that at the very end.
Broke.
You know, there you go. All right. Well, that's it. We're right at the very end of it, but. You know, there's so much that I wanted to ask you about. I wish we could bring you back and talk more about outsourcing. I wish we could bring you back and talk more about how your perfectionism and your YouTube strategies. In fact, hey, why don't you give us 3 YouTube ninja tricks right away before we head out the door?
Yeah, of course. So the number one is that every single video that you've ever put on YouTube and every video that you ever will put on YouTube needs to be associated with 1 to 2 keywords. Now, keywords are the search terms that people are looking for. 60% of views on YouTube are keyword related, and Google owns YouTube, so they put YouTube videos on the homepage of Google when you type in certain keywords. So if you're making videos like my first video or episode 2, no one's searching for those things, so you need to switch them to a keyword like a how-to. If you can put a how-to in front of any video you have, you're gonna, quadruple your traffic. You really are. So we put it in the title, the description, and the tags. The next thing we do is what will help you outrank anybody else once you have the keywords is having a channel of authority. So getting more subscribers, which that could be a 30-minute call right there. And then what we do a lot of stuff, if you're into SEO and backlinking, is we send backlinks, quality backlinks, to your YouTube channel. So from your blog or any other websites you have, backlink to your channel, and that helps show YouTube and Google that you're a channel of authority. Now, the last thing I'll say about YouTube is that it's gaining a lot more popularity today, especially as YouTube advertising has become popular. But I've been talking about this since I've been, blue in the face now since 2010, because YouTube is a slow man's it's the tortoise race, really. It really is. And, Jason said at the beginning of the call, he's like, and now he's got 1 million views. And I'm like, oh, man, that was like 4 months ago. I need to update it because now we're at 2.1 million views.
Wow.
And so we've seen the hockey stick where it's just been like years of this, and then all of a sudden it just skyrockets. And this happens with a lot of people. It's a patience game. It's a tortoise wins the race kind of game. So people tend to go, YouTube's not for me, it's not sexy enough. And so what I recommend is you're doing YouTube in the background, then you can do whatever else you think is fun and sexy, like Facebook ads or podcasting. But YouTube should just be this core thing, because it ain't going anywhere. It's what makes Google money. And the way they got to keep people on YouTube is they keep putting YouTube videos in Google. And so like when you think that way, it's just like it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So just keep making YouTube videos.
So
right.
I think then to wrap it up, what do we talk about? You want to launch a product, you need to outline your product, sell it before you build it. Make sure you have a list. Make sure you have a good, clear email marketing funnel where you're a lead capture funnel, right? And build your list. A lot of discussion now about how list building is dead and it's not effective anymore. And then I see guys like yourself and well, like I said, Sean and Lewis and other. I mean, you guys are just like killing it right now. And it's because of these lists. And Derek, of course. So, yeah, I think that as we wrap up, I hope everybody that's on the call today, I hope we had enough discussions over there on Twitter. I hope everybody had fun here. Keep asking questions. James, you may have some time to pop in and just say hello or answer a question or two on the stream if you can. If you can't, I understand you're an extremely busy guy. But we're deeply grateful that you stopped on by On Track Tips. And get on track, stay on track. And we are helping your small business one expert at a time. Today's expert, James Wedmore. James, tell us, where can we find you? What do you want us to do to keep in touch?
Just subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/James Wedmore. That would be amazing. Leave a comment on one of the videos, even if it's a bad comment, like you don't like my stuff. I'd still like to hear from you.
Man, all right. We'll see you later. I hate to let you go, but that's the way it goes. 30 minutes and we're done. So for the sake of our listeners, we're out of here. Bye now.